and welcome to Royals at the Ranch for December 14th, 2023. I'm Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Animal Sanctuary. Royals at the Ranch is our series about Python Regis behavior, temperament, and training. Please be sure to check out our entire Royals at the Ranch playlist, where we have detailed information about behavior, temperament, and training of Royal Pythons in lots of those episodes. In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about temperament, and I'm going to give you a reminder that some Python Regis are going to be very bold, curious, and outgoing. Seashell is an example of one of those. She is an outlier. This is not the norm for the species. What is normal for the majority of the species is that Python Regis tend to be on the shy end of the bold, shy temperament spectrum. You might notice that they hide a lot. They tend to come out only at night or more often at night with maybe some occasional basking during the day. They're sensitive to environmental stimuli and they become withdrawn when they're frightened. Many of them tend to be very reactive to novelty and they can take a long time to adapt to any change. And so you're going to find that there will be a few in the middle of that, but the majority of Python Regis are going to be on that shy side. Now let's talk about a little bit of behavior and making smooth transitions when we want our Python Regis to adapt to change. This is Ahsoka, and she's been living in this converted tub that I put a glass door on the front of, UVB and lighting in. And now I'm moving her into a 4x2x2 enclosure. And to make that transition go more smoothly and mitigate transition stress for her, I've arranged it so that her entire old habitat can fit inside of this new enclosure. And she is able to remain living in her old, familiar, comfortable habitat as I add things to her new enclosure, as I start filling it up with things. And it allows her to adapt to this new environment in her own time when she feels ready. I've taken the glass door off the front of her tub, and so she is free to come out of her tub whenever she wants to, and then go back in it whenever she wants to. And I find that this is the number one best way to transition royal pythons from an old enclosure to a new one, and it mitigates so much stress. Now let's talk about training Python Regis. Can you target train them? Yes, you can. Can you target train them at any age? Yes, you can. This is Betty, and she did not start her target training career until she was about 24 years old. Now, as you can see here, she orients to the target when I move it from in front of her face over to her right. And the reason I did that is I wanted to make sure that she saw it, and then I wanted to make sure that she knew to orient towards it and follow it. And at 25 years old, she is doing a great job. Keep in mind that she did not start learning this behavior until she was 24 years old. So you can teach an old snake new tricks. Now let's look at another snake. She started learning target training when she was about 6 years old. She really understands target training, but she kind of does that wild thing with her head that many Python Regis do. Instead of going straight for the target or straight for the reinforcer, which is the prey item, they sort of do this sideways head thing until they eventually strike at and catch the prey. Now this is Luma. She started target training when she was about 5 years old, so we've only had her about a year, so not too long ago. And I was going to ask her to move from the left side of her enclosure over to the right side. And I was just for fun going to have her practice going over the top of the log and then coming down underneath the log. So between the bottom of the log and the top of that wooden box that is one of her hides. But she outsmarted me. And when I moved the target around and under the log and to the right side of it, closer to me, she just popped back up and came over the top of the log because that was the easier behavior to do, while still ending up where I have placed the target. And I have had other snakes do this same thing. They will take a detour or they will take an easier route to get to where I have the target placed, even though they lose sight of the target during their detour, which I believe is a perfect example, that snakes have the cognitive ability to understand that an object is still there even though they can't see it, and that is called object permanence. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please remember until next time to always be kind and love your animals.